You were taught how to be poor, not on purpose, by people who loved you. Your parents told you to get a safe job and stay there. Your teachers told you to study hard and the money would follow. Your friends told you to enjoy life now, because tomorrow is not promised. The government built a system that takes its share before you even see your check. The books on the shelf told you to just believe in yourself. The podcast told you to hustle harder. All of them meant well. Almost none of them told you the truth. And the hardest part is this: it was not a stranger who gave you bad advice. It was the people who love you most. Pause. Here is the strange part. There are two sets of rules about money. One set is taught to the many. One set is used by the few. The public rules sound nice in a classroom. The ground rules only get passed down in kitchens, in small back offices, in quiet conversations you were never invited to. Tonight you get invited. PAUSS.
Not 7 lessons, not 5, 9, exactly 9, because 9 is the number of walls that hold up the house of a person who ends up wealthy and calm instead of busy and broke. Take 1 wall away and the house still stands for a while. Take away 3 and it falls. I did not pick 9 to sound clever. I picked 9 because that is how many I have watched hold, one at a time, over and over, in real people's real lives. Before we go further, one warning. Some of what you hear tonight will feel like an insult to people you love. It is not. It is just math and time dressed up as a story. If you cannot sit with being wrong about money, this is a good time to leave. Emphasis: if you stay, you are already different from most people watching this. Pause. This does not happen on a stage. It happens in small back offices of family businesses in Dayton, in Tulsa, in Modesto, in Scranton. It happens at kitchen tables at 11 at night, long after the kids are asleep. Quiet people doing quiet math, becoming rich in a way no one claps for. Let me tell you about a few of them. Their names are changed. Their numbers are real. The first wall is called the spread. Jim Rohn used to say that your income rarely outgrows your own personal development. But before development, there is a simpler idea. The spread is the gap between what you earn and what you spend, not the size of your paycheck, the size of the gap. I remember my own spread as a young man. I made decent money and kept none of it because I filled the gap every single month with things that made me feel rich instead of things that made me become rich. Now let me tell you about a man named Walter, a janitor in a mid-size hospital in Ohio. Walter never earned more than $34,000 a year in his life, but Walter kept a spread of 20% every single month for 40 years and put it quietly into simple, boring index funds. When Walter died, his church could not believe it. He left behind $800,000. Here is the math, because the math is the only honest teacher in this room. Save $400 a month, earn an average return of 8%, and in 40 years that becomes over $1.3 million. Notice that, not from a big income, from a steady spread. Income is the size of the river. Spread is the size of the dam behind it. A wide river with no dam still runs dry the second the rain stops. A small stream with a strong dam fills a lake. The second wall is called the soldier test. Most people treat their money like a crowd. No leader, no orders, just movement in every direction. Wealthy people treat every dollar like a soldier with a job. Before it is spent, it already knows its mission. I remember the year I finally gave every dollar a name before it hit my account, and how strange it felt to feel in control of money for the first time. Let me tell you about a woman named Adiz who came to this country with almost no English and worked stocking shelves at a small grocery store in Houston. Adiz gave every dollar a job the day she got paid. Rent got its soldiers, food got its soldiers, and 10%, no matter how tight the month, got sent to a small envelope marked Future Stores. By the age of 48, Adiz owned 4 small grocery stores of her own. Here is the math. If you give 10% of every paycheck a mission for 25 years, at even a modest return, that becomes the seed of a small business or a paid-off home. A river without banks floods everywhere and drowns nothing useful. A river with strong banks carves a canyon deep enough to last generations. The third wall is called the compounding decade. There is one decade in most lives that decides more than any other, and it is rarely the one people expect. It is not your best earning decade. It is your first serious saving decade, whenever that begins for you. Jim Rohn talked about how time either works for you or against you, and there is no third option. I think about my own late start and how every year I waited cost me more than the year itself, because that year could never come back. Let me tell you about a draftsman named Harold in a small firm outside Pittsburgh. Harold started investing at 26 instead of 36. That is the entire story. Same salary as his coworkers, same lifestyle, 10 years earlier. Here is the math. $10,000 invested at 26 at 8% average return becomes over $100,000 by 65. The same $10,000 invested at 36 becomes less than half of that. The gap is not from working harder. The gap is from 10 quiet years of a tree simply being allowed to grow. The fourth wall is called the skill stack. Most people try to get rich with one skill. The few get rich by stacking 2 or 3 ordinary skills that are rare only in combination. Jim Rohn said you cannot become more valuable in the marketplace by accident. Let me tell you about a mechanic named Denny in a small Missouri town. Denny was a good mechanic. Thousands of men are good mechanics, but Denny also learned bookkeeping on the side from a night class at a community college. Suddenly, Denny was the only shop in 3 counties whose owner understood both the engines and the books. He raised his prices, cut his waist, and retired at 54 with his shop sold for $400,000. Here is the math. One rare skill might put you in the top 20% of earners. 2 ordinary skills stacked can put you in the top 5% because the combination itself is rare, even when neither skill alone is special. A single bee finds one flower. A hive of ordinary bees working in one pattern builds an entire season of honey. The fifth wall is called the lifestyle freeze. This is the one people hate to hear the most. Every time your income rises, your lifestyle wants to rise with it immediately. The few freeze their lifestyle for a season, right at the exact moment their income jumps, and bank the entire difference. I remember the first real raise I ever received, and how badly I wanted a new car that same month, and how glad I am now that I waited. Let me tell you about a woman named Renata, a hospital nurse in Arizona who got promoted to a management role with a $22,000 raise. She kept driving the same car and living in the same apartment for 3 more years and put the entire raise into savings. Here is the math. Freezing just one raise of $20,000 a year for 5 years at 8% return builds close to $140,000 without a single extra dollar of income beyond that one promotion. A dam does not stop the river from flowing forever. It simply holds back one season of water until it is ready to be used with purpose. The sixth wall is called the quiet network. Most people believe wealth comes from working alone and guarding your plans. The few understand that a small circle of serious people multiplies opportunity in ways solitude never can. Jim Rohn said you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Let me tell you about a barber named Curtis in a small Georgia town who began inviting 3 regular customers, all small business owners, to breakfast once a month just to talk. No pitch, no agenda, just conversation. Within 4 years, those 3 men had helped Curtis open a second shop, refer him a commercial landlord who cut him a fair lease, and introduce him to an accountant who saved him thousands each year in taxes. Curtis did not know he was overpaying. Here is the math, though this one cannot be written as a formula. One good relationship, sustained over years, has produced more wealth for more quiet millionaires than any single investment choice in this entire list. Roots below the ground cannot be seen, but they are the reason the tree above the ground can survive a storm. The seventh wall is called the silent ledger. Almost no one tracks their own net worth on paper, so almost no one notices the slow bleeding that happens every single month. The few keep a single page, updated once a season, that simply lists what they own and what they owe. Let me tell you about Walter again, the janitor from the first story. Every 3 months for 40 years, Walter wrote one number on a piece of paper taped inside his kitchen cabinet. Just one number, his net worth. He never let it fall. Here is the math, and this one is simple. What gets measured gets managed. A single page 4 times a year for 40 years is 160 small moments of honesty. 160 small moments of honesty added together become a habit no salary can beat. A ship without instruments can still float, but it has no idea if it is drifting toward the rocks. The eighth wall is called the slow no. The few say no to good opportunities constantly, not because the opportunities are bad, but because saying yes to everything scatters the exact focus that builds real wealth. Let me tell you about Adiz once more, the grocery store owner. She was offered a 5th store in a busy part of the city at what looked like a fantastic price. She said no. She said the 3rd and 4th stores needed 2 more years of her full attention before a 5th store could be handled without cracks forming. Here is the math behind that no. Businesses that expand before their systems already see failure rates several times higher than businesses that wait for stability first. One well-timed no protected everything Adiz had already built. A tree that tries to grow every branch at once in its first year snaps in the first strong wind. The 9th wall, the last one, is called the late ledger. This is the lesson almost everyone learns far too late if they learn it at all. Money is not the finish line. Money is simply the proof that you became a more disciplined, more valuable version of yourself along the way. Jim Rohn spent his whole life saying that the goal is not to get rich to change your life. The goal is to grow yourself, and richness becomes the side effect. Let me tell you about Harold, the draftsman, one final time. At 65, with a comfortable retirement fully funded, Harold said something to his son that his son later wrote down. He said the money was never really the point. The point was who he had to become to build it, patient, careful, and calm, and that version of himself was worth more than the number in the account. Here is the math, even though this one cannot be measured in dollars. A person who becomes patient, careful, and disciplined can rebuild wealth from nothing if they ever lost it all tomorrow. A person who only has the money without the person underneath it can lose it all and have nothing left to rebuild with. A river carves a canyon slowly, and the canyon remains long after the river has moved on to somewhere else. What remains after the money is who you became while building it. Here is the great paradox of everything you just heard. All 9 of these walls are so simple you could write every one of them on a single index card. And yet fewer than one person in 50 will ever actually do all 9 on paper starting this week. Emphasis: simple and easy are not the same word. Simple means anyone can understand it in one sitting. Easy means it costs you nothing to actually do it. Nothing about tonight was easy. It was simple. Pause. So here is what I am asking you to do in the next 10 minutes, not the next 10 years. Get one piece of paper, get a pen, stand in front of a mirror if you have one nearby, write down 3 commitments, not 9, just 3, chosen from the 9 walls you heard tonight, the 3 that hit you the hardest. Sign your name under them, write today's date beneath your name. This is not a wish list. This is a 30-day contract with yourself, and I want you to say it out loud once you have written it. 30 days, 3 lines, your name, your date. Tape it somewhere you cannot avoid seeing it: your bathroom mirror, your car dashboard, the inside of your front door. 98 of you watching this will agree with every single word I just said. 2 of you will actually change something this week. I do not know which one of you is which yet. Pause, but in 30 days you will know. Emphasis. The room you are sitting in right now, wherever it is, already contains everything you need to begin. Not more information, not another video, just the paper, the pen, and the mirror you already own. If tonight found you, then part 2 is already waiting, the one where we talk about the single hardest wall of all, the one that has nothing to do with money and everything to do with the people you have to disappoint along the way to becoming wealthy. That one is not for everyone, but if you made it this far, it is probably for you.